This case happened close to our home. A 14-year-old girl and her 20-year-old boyfriend planned her mother's murder.
It happened in her own driveway. A forbidden romance, a loving mother. This is the case of Jamie Silvonek. Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of Stop Who Does That. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Jackie.
We hope everyone is having a great week this week. I know it's very cold up here in the Northeast, and we have just been kind of staying at home, catching up on shows. I did finish that Netflix show, His and Hers, that everyone is watching, and it was great. I highly recommend it if you didn't watch it yet, Jackie.
I started it and I was about 30 minutes in and I stopped watching because I thought maybe my husband would want to watch it with me. So
Yeah.
I have it on pause, but I did go to the library this week and got 2 new thrillers. I got that Colleen Hoover book, Verity. I
Nice.
saw there's a movie coming out in May for it, so we'll see.
That'll be nice.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into this week's episode, we want to take a moment, as always, to thank all of our viewers and listeners. And a special thank you to Kayla Heights for your review on our Apple Podcasts. You are awesome, and we thank you so much for the kind words and support. We want to thank our international listeners as well. We appreciate the support so much. Quick reminder to please like, subscribe, and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please share with your family and friends who also love true crime too. Check out our new TikTok account, Stop Who Does That podcast on TikTok.
Yes, and I just wanted to point out I was looking at the analytics of our rankings by country, and second to the United States, which is where most of our listeners come from, we have listeners in Australia. Hello, Australia. You guys are really showing up for us. I mean, there's at least 14 or 15 of you that are listening. So thank you so much. And we hope to hear from you at some point in the future. Well, today we have a shocking and gut-wrenching case from our home state of Pennsylvania and Jenna's hometown area of the Lehigh Valley. This is a story of a teenage girl and her mother. Jamie Silvonek was 14 years old. 14, 1-4, when she became the youngest person ever charged with homicide. As an adult in Lehigh County, she told a judge she was, quote, a monster when she pled guilty in the murder of her 54-year-old mother, Cheryl. Only in 8th grade, she was involved with a 20-year-old man, and not only that, but it was a forbidden romance, obviously, and a mother who tried to protect her, only to be killed for it in the end. This is the case of Jamie Silvonek.
Jamie Silvonek met Caleb Barnes in October 2014 at the self-help concert in Philadelphia. Jamie Silvonek told Caleb Barnes that she was 17 years old at the time of meeting. In reality, she was just 13 years old in 2014. He was 20 and a soldier in the military. The two exchanged phone numbers and began a relationship through texting, Twitter, and occasionally seeing each other while Jamie visited her grandmother in Maryland. Barnes was based down there in Fort Meade, Maryland. Jamie lived in Upper Macungie Township, PA, as we talked about earlier. This is in the Lehigh Valley. It's about a 3-hour drive from the Lehigh Valley area to Maryland. And many of us do it, Jackie, every summer when we go to Ocean City, Maryland. It's a very popular summer destination for those of us who live here in Southeast PA. That was a way that she could see him by visiting her grandmother in Maryland. On March 5th, 2016, now this is 1.5 years after their first meeting. In March of 2016, Jamie is now 14 and Caleb is 21. It is at this time that Jamie's mother, Cheryl Silvonek, meets Caleb for the first time. Cheryl Silvonek learns his age and immediately tells them to end the relationship. She says flat out, hell no, you are not dating my 14-year-old daughter. You are a man. You are
Yep.
a grown man. Now, like we said before, Jamie did lie and say she was 17. And when we bring up the pictures of her, you will see the girl definitely looked, it was not unbelievable, Jackie. Like she really looked older for her age. She just had a very mature look about her. She had a full figure. I mean, this did not look
Yeah.
like the 8th graders that are in my son's school. I'll tell you that. So I can see how Caleb would have believed her. He wouldn't have questioned it. So when Jamie, mother Cheryl, meets Caleb and learns his age, she's like, well, she's only 14. And he's kind of taken aback and shocked by this information. He didn't know. And so I don't know if Cheryl believed the fact that he was unaware. I don't know what went on
Mm.
with that, but she told them the relationship, this has got to end.
Right,
Which,
right. Yeah. I mean, it's statutory.
yeah, Jackie, you have a daughter. I'm sure you wouldn't want your daughter, your 8th grade
Hell
daughter, dating a
no.
grown man. That's highly inappropriate
Yeah.
and gross. So that night, Jamie and Caleb have a cell phone conversation. This is the night of March 5th, where she is the one who brings up killing her parents. They discussed her father's life insurance policy, which we have talked about in other cases. Life insurance policies always come up when you're plotting a murder. So they talked about the father's life insurance and they kind of made this loose plan to lure her parents from their home in Orfield to a place where Barnes could kill them and dispose of the bodies together. So they're concocting this plan to kill her parents because in their mind, Jackie, they think if her parents are dead, then they can keep dating, which makes no sense to a rational person.
Wow.
But the two of them thought that they could be together that way. Caleb would just kill them, dispose of the bodies, and they could move on with their life. That was their original plan.
Well, I mean, Romeo and Juliet didn't even think of that. So they wanted to be together in the afterlife. And these two are like, hey, let's kill mom and dad and get the life insurance money. That next level.
And what did they think would happen when they killed mom and dad? Did they
No one
think,
would ask questions.
I mean, this is 2016. There are cell phones. I don't know how they thought they would get away with it, but that was their plan number one that they came up with.
Mm.
Also, they could keep dating. About a week later, Caleb Barnes purchased 2 tickets for the March 14th Breaking Benjamin concert being held at the Hilton Hotel in Scranton, PA, which is about 45 minutes north of the Lehigh Valley. Authorities said he left Fort Meade, Maryland, where he was stationed on March 14th and drove to the Silvonics' home on Randy Lane in Orfield, Pennsylvania. The district attorney's office released the following text messages between Jamie Silvonek, Caleb Barnes, and Cheryl Silvonek on March 14th, 2015, night of the concert, that Cheryl agreed to take them to. Cheryl agreed to take them to this concert. I believe it was like her way of
Setting
giving
an
her
olive,
daughter,
like an
yeah, like,
olive branch, like,
yeah, or one last time
yeah.
for her daughter to see him, have a good night, and then they could go their separate ways. I think as a 54-year-old mother, in her mind, she thought that was an appropriate gesture of her to do that. I also want to mention,
Do you think she thought, well, I assume Caleb, he was initially planning on taking Jamie by himself. So I would imagine she was like, well, if they want to go if they're gonna do this anyway, I need to physically be there as, like, a
Yeah.
chaperone of sorts.
I think so.
Underage.
I
Yeah.
I think that she felt like she could, at least then oversee
Right.
them, drive them, and that they wouldn't be getting into any trouble or having sex or anything if
Right.
she could be there. I do wanna mention that she never told her husband about any of this. So Cheryl's husband and Jamie's father, he didn't even know about this
Wow.
relationship between Jamie and Caleb. Cheryl kind of kept it, I'll say, close to the vest, as we like to say. And she didn't share this with him. I think she thought she could handle it on
Right.
her own. To her, I think she thought this is just like puppy love. Like,
Mhm.
I'll handle this. I don't even get him involved. And this kid will be gone
Yeah, because we
soon.
don't need a daddy with a shotgun type situation either. So
Yeah,
she's
she
probably
just
really like,
wanted to.
"Your dad will lose his mind if he finds out." So, yeah.
Definitely. We're going to read some of the text messages. This is while Caleb is driving to the Silvonek home. Jamie, and with Cheryl too, it's
Yeah.
some back and forth. So Jamie says to Cheryl, he'll be here soon with a little smiley face. We're just going to hang out until later. And then Jamie says to Caleb, if she asks about your age, say 16 and a half again. And the reason you said 20 is you are used to lying about it to fellow soldiers in the army.
Okay, let's stop there. Time out. Jamie, do you know you can't join the military at 16? He's the youngest with parental permission. My brother joined the Marines at 17 with
Yeah,
parental permission. You can't be 16 in the military, ma'am.
no. This isn't 1760. They're not just enlisting minor children in the US military.
But this also goes to show, like, how immature and inexperienced she is, that
Yes.
she really thinks her mom would buy that. Like, your mom doesn't know what the laws are and that you have to be 17 at minimum, but definitely 18 to join the military?
I mean,
Anyway,
she
sorry.
yeah, she
I can't. I
and
can't.
Caleb, it was a bad plan from the start,
No.
and they're both immature, and even though Caleb is 21 at this time, he is so immature. He
Oh, yeah.
might as have well been 14.
There's we're gonna get into the psychology of the adolescent brain later, because I'm a giant nerd about that stuff. But even they say that your frontal lobe isn't fully developed until you're 25. So
Well,
there's
yeah.
a lot of people who've committed crimes, 25 and under, that are now arguing like, I need some clemency because now that we know, scientifically speaking, I wasn't able to really, control myself at that age. He's legally an adult, but there could be some obvious immaturity there too on his end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she says to lie about your age,
Yep.
just say, like, you're used to lying about it.
And then Cheryl to Jamie, if you want to see that concert, I am taking you. You can meet him there. So Cheryl's putting her foot down because Jamie, it sounds to me like Jamie's trying to tell her what she's doing. Oh, we're just
Yes.
gonna hang out. He's gonna come pick me up, and she's like, no, 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 I'm taking you.
It sounds like something my mom would have said to me as a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, I'm driving you. So she does seem like a very caring mother.
Right.
Jamie says to Caleb,
Tell her.
tell her your mom mailed you your birth certificate earlier last week from Argentina. So when it arrives, you can prove to her that you're 16. Say that your Facebook information regarding when you graduated high school and your age is fabricated and so on and so forth. Jamie then says to Caleb, she needs to go, Caleb, right now. You don't understand.
And then Caleb to Jamie, this is ridiculous. Fine. Have her call me.
Jamie says to Caleb, hey, effing no. I don't know what her problem is. She threatened to throw me out of the house. I want her gone. Now, at this point, Caleb has arrived at the home in Orfield.
Mhm.
Caleb and Jamie get into Cheryl's car, and now they're on the way to the concert in Scranton, and they are literally fucking plotting in the back of Cheryl's car to kill her while she is driving them to the concert.
My God. She's over here being mother of the year. I know it sounds controversial to say, but like, there's so many different ways she could have handled this, but she's like doing the best thing that she could to meet her daughter in the
Yeah.
middle.
Yes.
Hopefully reason with her to end this. And they're in the back seat. This is the fucking thanks she gets. Please.
It gives me chills to think that she is like you said, Jackie, trying to do the right thing the best way she knows how,
Yeah.
taking her daughter and this kid to the concert. She didn't have to do that. And
She
the
could have
whole
told
time.
him to get back in his car and leave.
Mhm.
Really, she could have.
I wish
Wow.
she would have. I wish.
Hindsight is 2020.
Absolutely. So the district attorney's office then released some more text message communications between Jamie Silvonek and Caleb Barnes from 4:27 p.m. and 5:36 p.m. As Cheryl Silvonek was driving to the concert, Jamie and Caleb text message each other about their plan.
Caleb, next time we're out of sight.
And Jamie says, "Okay, baby, I love you. We can do this. We'll just drive her car then, right?
No, that leaves us as the suspects.
Then what will we do?"
Drive back and get mine.
"Damn, I thought we were going to 6 back. We can just drive hers. We will have to. I want her to shut her effing face and stop being fake. She just," it looks like she meant to say, effing lied to you about my age, and now she's pulling this. So after this exchange, they do attend the concert, the Breaking Benjamin concert, which out of all bands has to be one of those bands that Jackie and I like. So the concert ended and they drove back to the Lehigh Valley. They stopped at Chris's Diner in Allentown, which I have been to many times. It's a high school hangout. It's a well-known diner in our area. So they stopped there to get a bite to eat, and now they're about to head home. Now it's in the late, late evening hours. Cheryl is thinking this is their last meetup, and they will go their separate ways after this. But Jamie and Caleb have other ideas.
Also, let's just point out, how can your own mother lie about your age, baby?
I mean,
Wow. I don't know. Do you think Caleb's even buying that?
no, Caleb, and then what was she talking about? Like, get your birth certificate from Argentina? Like,
He was probably born in Argentina, it sounds like.
yeah, and so she was like, "You'll have to get that to show." I have no idea.
Oh, I'm really 16 and a half. My mom is going to mail it to me in a couple weeks and I'll show it to you. I guess she thought that was going to buy them a little more time together.
I guess so.
Well, as their night progressed, shortly before 1 a.m., the three of them drive back to the Sylvanic home on Randy Lane. While they are parked in the driveway, authorities believe Jamie Sylvanic sits in the back seat while Caleb stabs Cheryl in the neck. Neighbors hear intermittent horn sounds for 20 to 30 minutes, and one neighbor sees Jamie walking from the vehicle into the garage at 1:35 a.m. I just want to say the horn went on for about 20 to 30 minutes.
So that must have been Cheryl's body
Right, hitting the horn.
falling on the horn.
That's a long struggle, by the way.
I was just thinking that 20 to 30, she was really fighting back.
Yeah.
And Jamie's just sitting there. That is so horrific to me. Yes, your 14-year-old mind's not fully developed, but what 4-year-old can sit there and watch her own mother get stabbed to death right in front of her and just sit there and do nothing?
And not even ask or have a moment where you're like, wait, stop. Forget it. But it does turn out that she did struggle. Prosecutors say the 54-year-old mother was beaten, choked, and stabbed in the neck at least 5 times. Around 2 a.m., surveillance footage shows the couple walking the aisles of a Lower Macungie Walmart and buying gloves, bleach, rubbing alcohol, a box cutter, and a file. Surveillance video shows the pair leaving the store around 2:30 a.m., law enforcement said. So just painting the picture for you, they start killing her at 1 a.m., complete the job by 1:35, and then a half hour later, they're like, let's go get some stuff to clean this up.
Yeah. And this was back in the day. This was before COVID. So this is when Walmart was open 24 hours. And this is actually the Walmart in my community where I go to.
Mhm.
It is just crazy. But, and, remember, Jackie, Walmart was open 24 hours. So people who were killing and murdering, they could go to the Walmart in the middle of the night. Now they have to go before 12 a.m. But back then, if you were killing someone, you could go to Walmart in the middle of the night to get your cleaning supplies.
Wow. I wonder if I don't know, this sounds crazy, but I wonder if cashiers can raise a red flag when people buy certain items at the same time. like,
That's a great idea. They should.
Probably
They
like a
should.
heads up. I just want to put this on record that person meeting this description bought these items at this time. Just like put it on the record. Save them the trouble of pulling the cameras, right? That's a thought.
I mean, what else are you buying? Gloves, bleach, rubbing alcohol, like
At
what?
2 a.m. to clean a toilet? I don't
Yeah.
think so. I don't think so.
Ugh.
So they were busy. They were up all night because at
Yes.
5:55 a.m., the police discover Cheryl Silvonek's body buried in the dirt on the snowy bank of Hosdell Creek in South Whitehall Township. At 7:13 a.m., so 2 hours later, police find a bloodied vehicle in the area of Applewood and Huckleberry Roads, partially submerged in a pond, leading police to the Silvonek home where the couple was naked in bed. Jamie's father, David, was asleep. This all happened while the dad was sleeping.
The
Wow.
most, like, shocking part of this case, amongst other things, is how quickly this all
Yeah.
took place and unfolded, and the creek and Applewood and Huckleberry roads, I can't tell you, Jackie, how many times I have driven on those roads and by the creek, so this was just all over the news. I mean, everybody knew where those roads were, where the Hosdale Creek is. Jackie, they didn't even drive the body out of town. That is how emotionally stunted their
Yeah.
frontal lobe is. They didn't even drive it the 3 hours out into the middle of Pennsylvania.
It wasn't well thought out, clearly. Just for context here, the murder, the shopping, the cleaning supplies, the body being buried, and the dumping of the vehicle all happened within 6 hours. They were busy and
It's a lot.
panicking, I'm sure. So that's probably why they didn't take it anywhere farther. But then to go back in the house and get in bed together while the dad's sleeping, which, by the way, he didn't know about this guy. I don't know if he met this guy in passing and didn't know that she was dating him, but like, what did you think your dad was gonna do when you wake up in the morning and there's some weird guy in his house and your mom's not home? What were you gonna say then?
No, they probably went back home and had sex, like, after that whole ordeal. Like, ew.
Ew, I can't believe that was the first thing on their minds
No,
either.
that does not put me in the mood, Jackie, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, so let's show you where the car was dumped for context. It's what, 12 inches of water?
Yes, it was a small pond and creek, and you can see
You're
in
not
the
even
pictures.
submerging the vehicle.
No, I think, like, part of the one front tire was in there or something.
Also, they said the car was bloodied. They didn't even use the cleaning supplies, right? They didn't
Correct.
even clean the car.
No. No. Nope, they sure didn't.
I guess they were so tired they just went home and were
So
like, "We'll
that's
clean it in the
Jamie and
morning.
that's
We'll just dump
Caleb.
it." Yep.
Yeah, so there they are.
All right. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I would believe she was 17.
I would.
15 maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Beautiful home, by the way. Beautiful, beautiful home.
It was a beautiful neighborhood
Um,
too. That's a very nice neighborhood that she lived in.
all right, we have all these text messages that we read. And then we have, all right,
There's
there's
the
the
driveway
Walmart.
that
Oh, here we go.
yep, and
So
there's
here's,
the body was found there.
wow. And then is that the creek that they would have dumped the car
Yeah,
in?
so the body was found by Hosdale Creek. So where ooh, that area is there on the snow, right behind it is the creek. You can see they
Mhm.
just basically left her body literally right next to the creek. Also, it was snow covered. It must have been a snowy winter in 2016. Because that's middle of March and everything is still have snow. So, and then the car between Applewood and Huckleberry, they try to put it into a shallow pond.
Mhm. Which is over here. Okay.
Yeah, there's the pond, yeah.
How far
and it
apart
was
is the where the body was found to the pond?
like 10 minutes,
10 minutes, okay.
2 miles. So they dumped the body and then they kept driving.
Oh,
It's,
that's
like,
just
very, very close. I would say 2 miles.
wow, poorly thought out. I can't. So as we discussed, Caleb drove back with Cheryl's body to Hosdale Road and burned her body as well as
Mhm.
buried it in the same place. The Lehigh County coroner later confirmed multiple stab wounds to Silvonek's neck, as well as contusions, abrasions, and sharp force injuries. Police found the family car was allegedly driven by Caleb, partially submerged in a pond that we showed you near Applewood and Huckleberry Roads. After leaving the family car in a pond, we say Caleb walked back to the family's home, where he was later found with the victim's teenage daughter. Barnes and Silvonek were arrested and charged with Cheryl's homicide March 15th, 2015, so they didn't waste any time. He faces charges of homicide, criminal conspiracy, tampering with evidence, and abuse of a corpse. So let's talk about sentencing and what came
Yes.
next.
So we painted the whole picture for our listeners and viewers of the crime that took place in the driveway. After they were arrested, Jamie pled guilty. Jackie. I will say that they hired a very well known criminal defense attorney in the Lehigh County. His name is John Waldron. He's one of the top criminal defense attorneys in our county. We talked about this. It could have been spun in many different ways, but
Oh,
he
yeah.
must have advised her to plead guilty because of the mounting evidence
Mhm.
against her and Caleb. So, in pleading guilty, she was sentenced to 35 years to life with the possibility of parole. So, Jackie, she does have a possibility of parole here.
Mhm.
It's been 10 years. She is now 24 years old. She admitted she helped plan the killing, push Barnes to do it, and then help dispose of the body. And like we stated, she had this sentence in an adult prison. Her lawyer, John Waldron, tried multiple attempts to get Jamie tried as a juvenile. And this was one of the most controversial parts of this case is that he pushed for her to be tried as a juvenile, serve out some time in juvie, and then be let out. But
Mhm.
the judge and the prosecution, the district attorney said no. No, they were very adamant about this, Jackie. Absolutely not would she ever be tried as a juvenile. They tried her and sentenced her as an adult, making her the youngest female ever convicted in the county and state of Pennsylvania, convicted as an
Wow.
adult, a 14-year-old eighth grade girl, convicted as an adult and sentenced to serve out this time in an adult prison. Mind you, she was in the middle of eighth grade. She still had braces on her teeth. This is a little girl.
Wow.
Caleb Barnes pled not guilty and he went to trial. He was convicted, of course, of first degree murder. We would expect nothing less with all the evidence
Mhm.
against him. He was sentenced to life in prison with an added 22 to 44 years for additional charges.
Wow.
Judge Maria Dantos said to Barnes during the sentencing, quote, "You have nothing to say, and that's just fine," the judge said before launching into a cutting takedown of the, quote, "small little man." She referred to Caleb constantly as a small man, which he was tiny.
He was a
Um,
short king?
he was very short and very slim, and the judge liked to refer to him that way. Dantos said a person shows their true character when no one is watching, but that investigators and prosecutors shone a light on Barnes' faults. Quote, "What is showed was your cowardice, your inhumanity, your lack of any decency or empathy," the judge said. Barnes blindsided Cheryl Silvonek as he sat behind her in her car, savagely stabbing her in the throat. The evidence showed that she did fight back hard. She tried, the judge said to Barnes, adding that In the woman's final moments, she was acutely aware you and her daughter were murdering her. What a torturous death for a loving mother. And I think Jackie and I agree that is almost incomprehensible to, in your final moments, be like, my daughter and this man are killing me.
I mean, that
I
just that gives me chills. It makes me
Me
sick
too.
to, like, to think she's in the front seat, which is a very vulnerable position to be in. Someone's behind you doing that to you, and like, "Oh my god, like, I just did them this favor tonight, and this is what they're doing to me," and that he
She
didn't
was fully
stop for a
aware.
second. And, during all that fighting back, he didn't even think to stop. I mean, at that point, that's like the point of no return, bro. If you're gonna kill her, you're definitely not getting away with it because clearly they didn't have a plan. So there wouldn't have been any problem with you stopping and letting her live and her call the police. I mean, either way, you're going to jail. Question is how long, right? Versus, it would have been what, aggravated assault?
Yeah.
Uh
Attempted murder.
yeah, or versus first degree murder here.
Yes, he did.
I mean,
Yeah.
at that point,
And
you could have stopped and been like, "You know what? This isn't I
I just
I can't."
what? Being a loving mother, trying to do the right thing. She was trying to appease Jamie and take them and hope they could clear things up and break up, and this is what
This
she
is the
got.
thanks she
Uh,
gets. She was doing her job as a mother. Can you
and
imagine her giving
it's
birth to
hard being a
someone
mother.
giving birth to the
14
person
years.
that's gonna unalive you one day?
Honestly, Jackie, that is truly.
Chilling.
Yeah, I mean, to give birth to a baby that you love and care
Yeah.
about and want the best for, and then that baby grows up to plot your death at just only 14 years of age. You barely had any time together.
Yeah.
My mom and I spend so much time together and do so many fun
Yeah.
things and experiences, and it's like you barely even knew your mom at 14 years old. The judge did say to Caleb, evil has won and you must be removed from society forever. This judge was taking no shit. She wanted to make sure he knew what an evil piece of shit he actually was.
Yeah.
Speaking to David Silvonek, that's Cheryl's husband and Jamie's dad, David. After he addressed the court, Judge Danto said she recognized that not only he lost his wife, but he also lost his daughter as well. I do want to say they also had a son that was a few years older than Jamie. So David has his son at least.
That's
You
good.
can remember, yeah, she said you can remember Cheryl as the loving and beautiful wife and mother that she was. It is clear that this world lost a loving, kind, giving, and special person. May she rest in peace. The judge, oh, this is so good, Jackie. The judge referenced that Barnes is planning to write a book.
About
And
what?
and the judge said, quote, no one will care. Cheryl will be remembered with love by all that knew her. You will be locked in a cage for the rest of your natural life. And she's right. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about him and nobody cares about his book. And that's he did this all to himself.
What was he gonna write about? Being a murderer?
I don't know, but I definitely agree with the judge. No one will care. I don't even care if he wrote a book about like
Dogs. Like, I don't
whatever it is, I don't care about it. So David made a statement then, and he said, I often wish it would have been me, not Cheryl. This is what he said in court. He said the day his wife was killed was the worst day of his life, and the days since have been hell on earth. In the wake of the killing, he has struggled with post traumatic stress disorder and has had to resign from his job. Cheryl was the cornerstone of our family and put everyone before herself, he said.
Mm.
David and Cheryl met 30 years ago prior to this when he walked into a medical center where Cheryl Silvonek was a receptionist. After working up the courage to ask her out, David said what followed was a full and loving life with marriage, 2 kids, and a home.
Sounds like it was a really happy marriage.
Yeah, the perfect family life, perfect family, perfect wife, kids, beautiful home.
And clearly she was so selfless that she was trying to hide this from him to prevent
Yeah.
him from probably having a coronary,
Yeah,
finding out
probably
this
on
20-year-old's dating his daughter.
yeah.
So, she's thinking of his well-being too by taking this all
Yeah.
on herself. Well, after being sentenced in 2016, Jamie did appeal to have her case sent back to juvenile court. So she's saying, you guys should never have tried me as an adult. I want this tried in juvenile court. The following year, the state superior court upheld Dantos's decision to try her as an adult. We simply note that Silvonek was the instigator and willing participant in the murder of her mother, who was standing in the way of a continuing sexual relationship between Silvonek and her adult boyfriend, Caleb Barnes, a soldier stationed at Fort Meade, Maryland, the opinion states. The judge cited multiple comments from the prosecution's expert psychiatrist, John S. O'Brien, and that Dantos accepted his opinion that Silvonek was a manipulator, not manipulated. Records show Silvonek hired new attorneys in November from the Juvenile Law Center based in Philadelphia. The Morning Call reports the attorneys are claiming Silvonek's former attorney, John Waldron, failed to present evidence of Silvonek's mental health issues. Frank DiTilio, a psychologist, testified during Silvonek's decertification hearing that she was a teen girl in love who was being manipulated by an older man. With intensive treatment, Silvonek could someday return to the community, DiTilio testified. He also testified that Silvonek did not believe Barnes would kill her mother and that the girl believed his statements as such were part of the man's quote morbid humor. I don't know about that.
I don't
I don't
believe
know. She
that part. I don't think she thought it was a joke, but I do believe, and we've talked about this before, Jackie, not all attorneys are good. And I think her attorney really dropped the ball here. There are so many other defenses he could have kind of brought up here. Like, she was underage. This man was raping her and
Yeah.
manipulating her. Like, attorney John Waldron never touched on any of that. I think he
Yeah.
really fucked up.
Oh, I wonder if it would have been better for them to plead not guilty
Yes.
and then go to trial,
Yes.
because then would the jury have been instructed to look at her as an adult during that trial? I wonder.
I think she would have got a lesser sentence.
Yeah.
Definitely, because they would have spun it like Barnes was grooming her from
Right.
the age of 13,
Yeah.
grooming her, raping her, and putting all sorts of thoughts in her mind. I do believe that was a huge part of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think if she said not guilty and it went to trial, I think there would have been probably a different outcome. But then
Mhm.
again, those text messages, I feel like on the jury, it would be hard to believe that she's all that innocent
Yeah.
either, right? I mean, these thoughts are coming from somewhere. Like I mentioned earlier, I did some research into the psychology of the adolescent brain and how that relates to culpability. And I did find some literature. There's an article called The Relevance of Immaturities in the Juvenile Brain to Culpability and Rehabilitation by Beatrice Luna. And the article explores how advances in adolescent psychology and brain development research shows that adolescents lack executive functioning capabilities. So what is that? What is executive functioning, you might ask? That includes the ability to control your behavior to accomplish your goals and to control the impulses to follow actions or thoughts that would go against your goals for the day, the week, the year. So, for example, if my goal is to get an A in English class this year, I am going to put in more time per week to study, right? Obviously, as a child or an adolescent, you're getting these thoughts like, well, I want to go play with my friends. I want to go talk to so and so. I want to play video games. And it's the ability to control those thoughts that pop in your
Mhm.
head to keep that future goal in mind. They're just not able to really do that, right? And that's why parents come into play. We have to remind
Mhm.
them and to have these conversations with them all the time. Like, well, why would you go play video games for 5 hours when you want to get an A in English class? Well, how do you think you're going to accomplish that, right? So at that age, they don't have those abilities yet, or they're developing. It is important to remember that teen brains are still growing, and without getting into too much detail and the pathophysiology of the brain and the anatomy
Uh-huh.
of it. It's about the wiring to different parts of your brain. Those are still under construction when you're an adolescent. The wiring to those areas of the brain that control impulse control and decision making are not there yet, right? So the part of your brain that controls those impulses is not there. So that's why teens have a difficult time considering the consequences for their actions. So in Jamie's case, she wants boyfriend. She wants to have sex with boyfriend. That gives her a dopamine boost. She wants to continue doing that. Mommy's in her way. She wants mommy gone. She's thinking like a caveman. And that's how her brain was functioning at the time. There wasn't a part of her that was like, probably not a good idea. Probably going to go to jail for that.
Because they
Um,
have almost like tunnel vision, and that's all it's almost like hyper fixating on something,
right.
and nothing else matters at that time. Yeah, you're right, they're not even thinking about even next
Long-term
week. They're not even
right.
yeah,
It's
it's
just about the here and the now. And not only that, but their dopamine receptors, like I mentioned, they're highly active at that age, which means they're motivated by short-term rewards as their brain
yes.
responds more dramatically to those dopamine hits than it would for an adult, right? I mean, I
Uh-huh.
remember, as a preteen teen, when you eat candy or something that's like you weren't always allowed to eat, right? It's like the best thing ever and you look forward to getting it. But
Yeah.
now as an adult, I feel like we're like so desensitized. Like, okay, it's just a Skittle. Like,
I know.
right? Like, I really think it's harder and harder to get a dopamine hit as you get older. 'Cause-
Yes, it truly is. I mean, you paint a great picture, and we were all teenagers at one point,
yeah,
so we can all remember those teenage feelings. And although I do believe she was being groomed and manipulated, I do think she had her own part in
yeah,
this. Just a bit of it because we've all been a teenager and wanted to do things we weren't allowed to do. But we
yeah.
didn't kill our parents because of it.
I know, and as I was, like, explaining all this, I did have a moment where I had a thought where it's like, "Okay, but what about the part of her brain about empathy?" I guess that wasn't
Correct.
functioning properly either, to have a moment where you're like, "But I love my mom. I don't wanna do that to her." I mean
Yeah, I can't tell you the amount of times my parents were like, "You have to be home by this time, or I'm not gonna allow you to do this, but I'll let you do that." And of course, you're upset and you're gonna ruminate about it and you're going
Mhm.
to get upset and throw a tantrum, but then you get over it. She was
Yeah.
upset and I'm gonna kill.
Yeah, and there was
Oh.
no ability for her to have, resilience in that moment. And then furthermore, I wanted to mention culpability, right? So that's holding someone accountable for their actions and
Uh-huh.
how we need to consider culpability in this case with the juvenile mind. So, quote, culpability requires the demonstration of responsibility for a willful act. Responsibility refers to the ability to be accountable for one's deliberate actions and implies a capacity for rational actions and moral decisions. As such, responsibility and culpability are complex concepts that engage multiple behavioral and cognitive processes. The ability to generate actions that are willful and planned requires psychological abilities that are supported by complex brain mechanisms. So that's a lot of fancy words, but what I believe they're saying here is to be able to hold her accountable, we would have to believe slash understand that she has the capacity to be rational and make moral decisions, which we earlier said the juvenile brain's not wired that way yet. So if you don't have those pathways to make those moral decisions, like I said, like where was the empathy part of her brain? Well, that wasn't working. So you can't hold her accountable for something that her brain's not doing.
It's truly
Yeah.
fascinating the way the brain works, especially the juvenile
Right.
mind. It is nothing like an adult brain. So it's just this is why this was a made national news. It just it kind of resonates with anyone who
Mhm.
has a child or
Right.
obviously was a teenager themselves. It's and like we're going to get into in a little bit,
Yeah.
she does make some statements about people make mistakes, people do things they're not proud of. Does that mean you can
Yeah.
never be rehabilitated? Does that mean you're always gonna be that person, especially when you do the bad things and you're only 14?
Right. I mean, it calls into question what is the purpose of the correctional facility. I was always under the impression that corrections departments are there to rehabilitate, and I put that in air quotes because are we ever rehabilitating them and letting them out? And it's hard because as you guys heard our reaction as we're going through this, like it's upsetting. It's disgusting what they did. So your knee jerk reaction is like, these people should never see the light of day, especially Jamie, right? But then we go through the psychology of it. It's like, oh, well, her brain literally couldn't think that far ahead. And to be fair, this wasn't being planned for months, right? And the ability to do that, to have extensive planning, obviously they didn't plan it well because look what they did throughout the night, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
well thought out because their brains are not wired to think it through from one end to the next. So it's like it's hard. It's hard. And then you have to consider how you thought at 14. Yes, we all didn't think of killing our parents, but at the same time, given the circumstances here, should we always look at her like that? And then also I wanted to tell you guys what is the criteria for charging someone as an adult when they're a juvenile because you're probably thinking, well, how can you just I'm sure you're all wondering how can a judge just arbitrarily decide this 14-year-old's an adult and we're going to treat her as such. So the criteria here for charging them as an adult is based on the seriousness of the crime, the minor's age and maturity, their criminal history, and the likelihood of successful rehabilitation in the juvenile justice system. Which I feel like she had no prior history. She's 14.
Nope.
That's pretty young. Usually, when I hear of minors being charged as adults, they're like 17, 16, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on the cusp of 18, but 14? There's a big difference between a 14-year-old and a 16, 17-year-old.
Yeah, and I'm surprised in the least they didn't put her in juvie till she was 18 and then maybe reassess. Like, they just put her straight to jail.
Jenna, I
They
can't
were
even
like,
imagine being 14 around these like women, grown women.
I did read that, when she did start her prison sentence, she was only allowed out of her cell to socialize for 1 hour a day, and she was only allowed to socialize with a fellow teenage inmate, another 17-year.
I know. I was wondering. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was wondering, what if those grown women do think
They
of her
kept
and
they
stuff?
kept her away until she turned 18. She was only allowed to talk to one other
Wow.
juvenile at that prison, a 17-year-old girl. That was the only person she was allowed to socialize with, and then once she turned 18, as we researched, she got her high school diploma, she took some college classes, and she became a, therapy dog trainer, which there are some, pictures of her now. She's a grown woman. She's
Mhm.
24, and she is doing the dog training, which seems to be really therapeutic for
Yeah.
her, and I'm sure she enjoys doing that. So that's her main job now is she's a therapy dog trainer.
And I
And
know when they go upstate to prison, there's a difference between jail and prison. They do give them things to do, and there's classes they can attend and like structured activities. So they're not just sitting around all day doing nothing. And I feel like that sounds to me like rehabilitation. And I can't imagine at 24, she probably feels like she's lived an entire lifetime in just 10 years.
I
And
know, and technically, if and when she does get out, she will be in her 40s and will go back into society, and hopefully she will be able to pick up the pieces of her life
yep.
and have a semblance of a normal life.
Well, I was just thinking of Gypsy Rose Blanchard and
Her.
how she's just become this celebrity all of a sudden. And I'm like, how is it we can be forgiving of Gypsy Rose and not
Yeah.
this girl? And I think the big
Yeah.
difference here is Gypsy Rose's mom was abusing her,
Yes. Yeah.
whereas this girl, her mother was just being a mother.
Yes.
Actually,
That's
she
the
was
difference.
being nicer than most moms.
Yep.
She was being a very wonderful mother, and that's how she repaid her mother. I think that's why people are having a hard time having compassion for
Yeah.
this situation compared to Gypsy Rose. And as we close out, I think it would be appropriate for us to end this episode with Jamie's own words and where she's at today and what she has to say about everything that we went over. This is an opinion piece written by Jamie Silvonek as of September 2nd, 2025. So just 4 months
Mhm.
ago. So this is very recent. It was published in the Morning Call, which is a local newspaper in the Lehigh Valley, and as well as the Juvenile Law Center in Philadelphia. So here's what she has to say. At 14, I was sentenced to 35 years to life in an adult prison for my role in my mother's murder. After exhausting all other options, I am seeking commutation of my sentence. Commutations are extraordinarily rare, especially for incarcerated women. From 1990 to 2017, no women's sentences were commuted in Pennsylvania. In 2018, Tina Brocious was the first woman whose sentence was commuted in 28 years. In 2018, only 10 women have had their sentences commuted. Despite such daunting statistics, I believe in commutation because I believe that every human being is more than the worst decisions they've ever made. I believe in the human capacity for positive change and redemption. How I know firsthand how devastating the consequences of my decisions have been. I've lost my mom, the person who took care of me and loved me unconditionally. It is impossible for me to describe what it is like to know that I am responsible for my mom's death and to live with it every single day. My mother's death and my responsibility for it have been devastating for my family. My father lost his wife of over 30 years. My brother lost his mother, and my grandparents had to bury their only daughter. Even 10 years later, my family continues to grapple with this devastation. The irreparable harms that result from such a tragedy are never isolated. They ripple outward, altering the trajectory of everyone's lives. The loss of my mother has affected our entire community. I will never be able to bring my mom back, fully atone for what I've done, or repair the harms for which I am responsible. This knowledge has filled me with an all consuming guilt and self hatred for many years. I didn't believe that there was a point in continuing to live after causing such irreparable harm to my mom, my family, and my community. Though I still carry the same guilt, I am immensely grateful that I now cherish my life. Today, I know that the purpose of my life is to honor my mom and her love for me by becoming a person that she can be proud of. I feel like crying. That's kind of
That was very powerful. She covered a lot of emotions that a woman feels in general just growing up, and we all see our mothers differently as an adult, as we did as a teenager.
There is more to the article, however, it is behind a paywall. But she does go on to explain all the things that she would do when she gets out of prison and how she would honor her mother. But in general, you get the gist of what she's saying. Reading it, reading her words, trying to put myself in her situation, knowing the pain she's caused everyone and herself. I mean, she's still mourning the loss of her mother. I still believe that there's a human being in her that is missing her mother. Two things can be true. You can have your mother killed and also grieve for her as well. And for the fact that she wants to keep on living and she wants to do these positive things. That really shows to me she really had no concept of what the outcome of her actions was going to be that night. And goes to show what we're talking about the psychology of a teenager, that she didn't fathom how this would have a ripple effect on everyone. Now she does. She's 24, but at 14, she couldn't see that far ahead.
No.
But yeah.
Definitely an interesting case and very rare, as we don't usually have a juvenile that young involved in a murder. So, a lot to think about with this case. And if any updates do occur with Jamie getting on parole or getting her sentence commuted, we will definitely
Yeah.
keep our listeners and viewers posted on this as well, because I do believe she will be getting out. It's only a matter of time.
And I believe her family is on board with that, right? With her
Yes,
getting commuted.
her family still, they support her and to have forgiven her.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like in that instance, right, the judge should really consider what the family wants. because they're the most impacted by this. And if her dad's okay with her coming home, her brother's okay with her coming home, her grandparents are,
Yeah.
if they're okay with it and they're ready to forgive her, I feel like that should be taken into consideration. But I think sometimes also they uphold sentences because they don't want this to set precedents for other cases.
Right. Like, think of the Menendez brothers. Their family supports them
Yeah.
immensely and has been petitioning for them, and the judge still is
Yeah.
not budging on it.
Because you have to imagine if you let this person off, do other
Mhm.
people think they could get off too in a couple of years if
Absolutely.
their family forgives them too? So
Yep.
there is that other side of the coin that we have to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, this is a great case and
Was
a
great.
journey into the teenage mind.
I think this talks about important issues that are affecting teens today and teens that go to prison and what becomes of
Mhm.
them. I almost feel like she needs to reach out to Kim Kardashian, maybe.
Yeah.
She had this older woman freed after, I don't know, 40, 50 years for some kind of like drug related crime. And she's like, does this woman really need to be locked up for 50 years for a drug related crime that she committed when she was like 19 years old?
Right. Yeah.
We really have to start thinking about that as a society. Does the punishment really fit the crime here?
So many things
Yeah.
go into it, especially for a case like this. So we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Jamie Silvonek and learning about the teenage mind. We will be back with you on Monday for more headline highlights, and we hope everyone has a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Bye.